Hello everybody and welcome back to Resident Evil HD. Last video we made it to our final area of the game, which is the laboratory. We decided Barry's fate, took care of Lisa Trevor, and we started clearing out this area. So all in all, I'd say it's a good day so far in the laboratory. Hopefully our luck continues. We're actually going to start going into some of the rooms here and solving some of the puzzles and doing all of that good stuff. Now this first puzzle I'm going to be doing is 100% completely optional. If you already know the solution to this puzzle from previous playthroughs, then you can skip this room entirely. But I figured we might as well go through it and solve this little puzzle here. There's an x-ray when you first come in, and you can pick it up and examine it. This is the x-ray of Clark David. You can see we have a number of x-rays in this room. There's also another x-ray on the table over here with a memo behind on the message board. And this is a diagram of all of the different organs. To use the electronic door, place the initials in alphabetical order. And that's going to have to do with our different x-rays that we have here. This x-ray is Gail Holland. And what you need to do is place the x-rays in such a way that they're going to spell out a word for us. So the x-ray of Clark will go on the left, and Gail Holland's x-ray is going to go on the right. Once you've placed those, what you can do is pull the switch, and that will cause the x-rays to light up. And what you need to pay attention to is the parts that are glowing. So Alex's x-ray, the colon is glowing. Clark David's is the esophagus. Ed Fisher's has the liver glowing, and finally Gail Holland's has the lungs glowing. So those 4 letters spell out the word cell. And on the table we have a researcher's letter. This is dated June 8th, 1998, and this is to Ada. Ada Wong, that's a name we know pretty well in the Resident Evil series. By the time you read this letter, I will no longer be the person you once knew. The results of my test came out today, and as suspected, it came out positive. I feel like I am teetering on the edge of reason just thinking about my impending doom. I would give anything not to have become one of them. As far as I know, you were not infected. I sincerely hope things do not reach such a desperate pass, but if it has turned out that you are now the last person remaining alive, I want you to get the material from the visual data room. Then activate the self-destruct system in the power room and escape from here. Please do everything in your power to make this whole accident public. If everything is still running normally, you should be able to release all the locks using the security system. I have set up the terminal in the small security room so that you can log into the system using my name and your name as the password. You will need another password to release the lock of the door in basement level 2 where the visual data room is located. As a safety measure, I have coded that password into an x-ray picture. I know you, and I'm sure you will be able to work it out without any trouble. There is just one more thing, and it is my last request. I hope you never have to lay eyes on me in this state, but if you do happen to run into me, I beg you to put me out of my misery. I hope you understand. Thank you, Ada. Yours truly, John. And for those of you who have played Resident Evil 2, Ada came to Raccoon City looking for John, the researcher that was her boyfriend, so that's sort of interesting for those of you who may or may not know that. And now that we have the username and those 2 passwords, we are now able to go and use the computer to open up some more of those doors that were mentioned. And there's also some goodies in here. We have some Magnum rounds. And if we go along the back shelves, we've got a couple of glowing items here. A little bit tricky to actually pick up, I find. You sort of have to look at the shelf in a very specific way. There's a first aid box, and then there is also a battery pack. Now that we've picked up all the loot, let's go ahead and look at the computer. So the login was John. And then Ada's name was the password. Not exactly secure, but that's alright. Better for us. That will allow you to access the door locks. And using that, you can unlock B3. And with cell being our password for basement 2, we can unlock that door as well. So there we are, we've unlocked both of those doors, and we now have a few more places to go. Like I said, if you know that stuff ahead of time, you can completely avoid the X-ray puzzle altogether. There's also a researcher's note here on the table. This one is basically just talking a little bit about the virus and the effects on the body. The host eventually mutated into a humanoid creature. We call them VAX. And I think this is talking about the Crimson Head specifically. Yeah, already 4 of our researchers have died from trying to feed it, turning the place into an instant bloodbath. Ever since the tragic and barbaric accident, we have decided to call its kind Crimson Heads. Termination is definitely not an option. We finally decided to freeze the specimen and confine the body inside the basement of the backyard cemetery. Which is the one that we had fought when we did the death mask puzzle. That was the prototype, I think. The first Crimson Head. I think what I'm going to do first is go back to this room here. And collect a key item that we're gonna need. So this is basement 3. I do believe this is the door that we opened using the cell password. We got more goodies in here. Ink ribbon. Incendiary shells. And the key item that we need in here that's important is the slide filter. I'm gonna take care of my zombie buddy here if I can. Hopefully he's not going to come back to life. I think I'll be okay to leave him there for now. There's a big machine here that we're going to need to remember for later. It doesn't serve any purpose to us now, but do remember this location because we are going to need to come back here. Another memo. This one is a fax from the Raccoon Disaster Contingency Committee. What does this one talk about? After reading the contents of this fax, it must be destroyed immediately. Talking a little bit about the T-virus outbreak. More than half the researchers have been infected by the T-virus and died. That's pretty brutal. It also been reported that almost all the survivors of this accident are starting to show symptoms of the T-virus infection. Our secret security patrol team has also been completely eradicated. There's high possibility that most of the specimens are running loose inside the compound. We expect many casualties to follow. These casualties underscore the success our research results. Actions must be taken to prevent our research results from being made public. We suspect the first official intervention will come from the state police and STARS. We strongly recommend taking measures against them first. So that probably explains why they want to get rid of us. They don't want any information being leaked, which, you know, I can understand. In this room, we have a security system passcode transmission device. If you had an MO disk, you could transmit the passcode to the system. Well, it just so happens I took an MO disk out of my inventory. So this is where we're going to be using the MO disks. And you'll need 3 in total. There are 3 readers scattered throughout the laboratory. And that is going to allow us to do something once that door is opened to again get the best ending. We haven't found the other 2 yet, but we will very, very shortly. And this is the door that it's going to open. You can see that there's 3 levers. Each MO disc will allow you to pull a lever. And then once all 3 MO discs have been used, you can see what's behind that big door. So we took care of this level for now. What we need to do is go back up to the 2nd level and go into the visual data room that John had mentioned. That was the other door that we unlocked using our passcode. Which is just down this hall here, and if you examine this desk, you will get another MO disc. Now there are going to be a ton of goodies in this room that I don't think I have room for, but that's okay, I can come back later. The first thing you're going to want to do is use your slide filter on the slide machine. Alternatively, what you can do is watch it without the slide filter. Just basically a little bit about Umbrella here and all the different creatures, the dog creatures, Cerberus, that big shark we fought, which was actually named Neptune, the hunters, Tyrant, we've heard a lot about that. The Bioorganic Weapons Research Group. That guy on the right looks an awful lot like Albert Wesker, don't you think? And then we have a barcode at the end. Now, you don't see much significant in that slide, but if you use the filter, and we slide all the way through to the very end with the barcodes, you'll then see a code 8462. And that's what we're looking for. We can then use that code over here on this terminal, and that will open up the way for us. Again, you don't need the slide filter. If you know that code, you can just enter it in automatically. Well, that will save you a lot of time if you're doing a speed run. And it opens this room here, and the key item that we're going to be picking up is the laboratory key. Now for fun, if you want, you can examine this equipment, and we can actually watch Kenneth's film from way back in the beginning of the game. So sure, let's watch it. Completely optional, but we could see how Kenneth died, although it's pretty obvious. And before I leave, the last thing I want to pick up is our... actually, I can't pick it up, darn. I thought I had one more space. But there's our third MO disc, if you're curious. I'm definitely going to have to go make some inventory space, because there were a lot of juicy goodies in there. I'm going to need that MO disc. There's also a first aid spray, some shotgun shells, and I also believe that room has our laboratory map. This area, I have to say, is a lot easier as Jill, because if you're trying to pick up all the items as Chris, it's just that much more of a pain because he doesn't have as many inventory slots. Now, if you're a person that doesn't care too much about picking up all the items, then that shouldn't be too much of an issue for you, because there's a lot of stuff you probably wouldn't really think to use, or things you're not really going to use anytime soon, like a lot of herbs and stuff like that. Obviously, we haven't had to use a lot of those, so it just depends on the kind of player you are or what sort of run that you're going for. I'm just going to throw this first aid spray down there for now. I'll organize my inventory later, but I just have so many herbs and sprays and first aid boxes. The healing part of my inventory box is a little bit out of control. I constantly have to try and organize it so that everything lines up so nicely. I think I'll just end things off by grabbing all the items in this room, because after this we won't have to come back here again. There's no MO disc reader in here or anything like that, so. We've got what we needed, which was the laboratory key. There's also our map of the laboratory that we can take. And then finally, I think over here, there is a security protocol, which is basically just talking about escape in the case of an emergency. Heliport is for executive use only. Passage to heliport is prohibited unless accompanied by a consultant researcher or the chief of security. Unauthorized persons will be shot on sight. That is messed up. The elevator stops during emergencies. Visual data room for use by the Special Research Division only. We've broken that rule. Prison/sanitation division controls to use of the prison. At least one consultant researcher must be present if viral use is authorized. Triple lock door. Entry into the room is limited to the sole person who deactivates the lock with all the passcode. Accessing the exclusive output terminals located in each section of the senior researchers deactivates the lock. So just talking a bit about the MO disks. Power room. Nitro compound is used as the primary fuel source of power. Access is limited to headquarters supervisors. This restriction may not apply to consultant researchers with special authorization. Passcode output terminals used and access of the output terminals is limited to authorized senior researchers. Regarding the progress of Tyrant after the administration of T-Virus, illegible. So a lot of fancy words to basically just talk about all the different areas in the laboratory. The passcodes, the MO disks, the locked doors, those kinds of things. So that's it. I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to rearrange my inventory yet again. And then we will come back and we will make some more progress. I promise I won't go back to the item box for a while after this. So thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.